Got that right.
It's watch people die in my arms, etc. like that. Yeah, I'm kind of like I can discuss just about anything in public and not care what anybody thinks for a reason.
Ye- You and me both, dude. I've seen some stuff myself. I get it. Okay. All right. There we go. Stream's up. I doubt Gavin will join tonight, but oh well. May as well try. I just got two new, or I've had the two new DLCs, but I just put them on the server, so I know Gavin has
So
them, but
I'm
hmm.
just gonna look over on YouTube, so don't start up the stream. Save your power.
Oh, my bandwidth. Okay. I was gonna say I
Yeah,
don't mind streaming on Discord because it's live, but
that's
oh
all
yeah, I'll
right.
probably.
I know. I just mute you on YouTube, and then listen to you through Discord, so that way we keep accurate
And you
on
can
the
still
communication.
watch. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, what happened is that my conversation with my PA got to her, and they decided and agreed to do a cardiac CT, and so I'm scheduled for that this Friday, and they given me a uh beta blocker for like 2 hours before I go in to the procedure, bring my heart rate down.
Mm.
And then I got told today when I'm inquiring about the price, because Riker wants to know the price, and they told me that my cost without anything or whatever like that, and we can't say because you're not in there and blah blah blah. It's $400, and
Hmm.
well, is the radiologist going to be attached to this? Well, da 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 da, and then da 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 da, and so um, I'm trying to contact the people that I went and had the chest X-ray yesterday, which was normal. Um,
Hmm. Dang, man, this Mercedes Benz pack is huge. It's bigger than I thought. Huh. Cool. Anyway, continue.
so anyway, so there's I found out yesterday when I was doing my chest X-ray that the radiologist I've got a lot of they're the ones that did all my snapshots for my arm, and so I
Hmm.
was like, I was talking with her. Yeah, we do CT. You do cardiac? Yeah, we do. No shit. So I'm trying to find out from them what their price is because their price is generally humongously cheaper
Hmm.
by hundreds or whatever that I go in and file my insurance and go with them, and I may be instead of going to the hospital side unit and a radiologist attached to it, it may be more cost effective to go to them, and I may wind up paying a hell of a lot less. I had a CT down on my arm, and it was like $40 for them to
Hmm.
do a CT on my arm.
Huh.
So I called them today and had to leave voicemail, and they didn't call me back tomorrow. It's going to be like, hey, look, I need to speak to somebody. Grab them. If you want to do this CT, I need to know because tomorrow's Wednesday. This thing is Friday. I need to say, yeah, I'm not going to do this and cancel it out. As a matter of fact, that reminds me, I'm supposed to go into my. Hold on, I need to go into my.
Huh.
I forgot I've got to go into my.
Nice. Have to check that out. So this is the Nexact machine, huh? No steering wheel. Dang, what a monster this thing is. Good grief. This is where it turns into field mode, it looks like. Yep. Check that out. Very cool. What an... Like, I don't even know where the engine is in this. Yeah, this is it's a real life thing. It's called a Nexact machine, but they're like really, really, really cool in real life, and they added it as a mod in or I'm sorry, as a DLC.
What is it for?
You can use it with anything. You can use it to plant, harvest, cultivate. It has a ton of attachments that you can use for it, but dang. That is quite the machine. Move my loader tractor out of the way. Wow. That's cool. Huh. Yeah, I don't even know where the engine would be on here. Unless if it's built under the cab, maybe. I don't know. I don't know how that all works. Huh. The thing is a monster, though. Good grief. I'll fold back down, maybe it'll be easier, I don't know. And this is supposed to be transport mode here. Does it pretty fast. Dang, it's so long. It's really, really kind of hard to steer. Huh. So it must attach, like, on the inner side of there, it looks like. I have to get rid of some of those pallets first, I guess. Wow. That's really cool. That's really, really, really cool. Guess I'll get these pallets out of the way, start loading this other truck. Huh. Very cool. Huh. Try something. See how awkward it is to move. There we go. That's not so bad. Yeah, the idea is to be able to look from your crop to the side. And now the harvester is attached. Nice. That's pretty cool. Huh. Dang. Huh. Yeah, it's supposed to be like a all-in-one machine. Supposedly. And it is huge. Dang. Wow. Ain't that something? Kind of weird looking, but real life, I've heard some pretty interesting things about them. I've never seen one in real life, but I'd like to someday.
Oh,
So yeah, this is supposed to be the harvester model.
why I'm too sweet. I heard that through the headphones. This leather chair. She's like, please don't hit the seat, please don't hit the seat, please don't hit the seat.
Oh, that's nice. You can actually have the header attached to it as well. Folds it down on the side. Huh, sticks out a ways, but... Wow. Dang, what a monster this thing is. Its turning is gonna get a little bit to getting used to, but... Wow. That is cool. That's really, really cool. Huh. I don't know if I want to get every type of machine for it or what, but... Or have several variants for it. I'm not sure. That's really neat. Yeah, they've got several others too. They've got, let's see. They've got a slurry one. They've got a cultivator. They've got a planter, one. They've got a disc harrow for it. They've got a regular planter. They've got a drill. They've got an actual hoe. They've got sprayer. And then the harvester one. Wow. That's really, really neat. Really, 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 really neat. I guess I'll buy the rest of it for later so it's not in the way, but yeah, I can definitely try them. No, don't tell me my game just crashed. Please don't. Okay, there we go. Huh. Very cool. 90 or 56-meter boom spray. That's pretty cool. Yep, you're all in one machine, basically, is what it is. That's really neat. I got some the next act is like It's like an off-road tractor pack, I guess. Yeah, they've got their tractors, Mercedes tractors. Very interesting looking. You know, they've got a dump truck.
You need to
That's
stop
kind
and clean your consoles out or something.
of nah, my throat. But they've got a semi, and they've got like these craneable containers or whatever that you can haul with the semi. So like you can fill them up with stuff and drop off the bins there. That's pretty cool. That's what we could maybe try. Is we could try getting like 20 of these and just get a truck or two and just fill them up with these. Huh. They've got their... They do have standard semis. Wow. Really neat. Just a standard container. And then, yeah, a dump truck one, it looks like. Huh. Yeah, that's really, really cool. What they did with that. Yeah, those are the 2 new DLCs that I've had that I just added to the server. Huh.
Please speak
Oh, that's cool.
contact really quick.
Huh. Yeah, I got the Challenger one. Huh. Set one of those bad boys up later, maybe. So what did they change about this car? I don't notice anything different. I know they did something to it. Hmm. Man, I might have to start looking for a new chair, because, man, my butt, my whole legs just all fell asleep. And I can't sit right. Feels weird. Ouch. Come on, leg. There we go. little bit bouncy there. Seriously? Stupid thing. Get out of there, you dumb thing. Not again, man. Yeah, it seems like 3 is just always a bit of trouble. Come on. Will you just get out of the stupid trailer? Okay, I'm not gonna fight it any longer. Not worth my time at the moment. There we go. Bruh. I'm just gonna stop carrying. Trying to carry more than 2. Obviously it does not work. Or it does work, it's just not reliable. There you go. Will you just get out of there, please? Oh! Well, okay then. Just rolled on the backside with the tractor. Come on. Please just get out of there, you stupid thing. Nope, that didn't work very well like I was hoping. Broke my stupid semi. I know, maybe if I just flip it, it'll come out. See if I dump a seed on the ground too while I do it. Not fast enough. Yeah, there we go. Got it out. Sweet. Perfect. You're about to see it any second, right?
I did. I watched it go catapulting out. I thought I was going to say something. The wife's come up and started. A better operative word was wee.
Pretty much. So yeah, if I just hit something really hard with it, it'll fly out. Cause
You
yeah,
don't need
that's
that
how.
pickup. You just need a regular forklift. You know that? Just forklift.
But I
That'll
like my
fight you.
messy man. Tractor reaches a little bit better than the forklift does. Do I dare try 4? Yeah. I do. No! Of course. I don't know why it fell off that time. It's so dumb.
Let's see what you're talking about.
Yep.
It
There
just
we
like
go.
that.
Yeah, so if the pallet fork was long enough, it would work, but stupid thing's just barely long enough. So I have to make half the amount of loads. I can get 4 in. Goes pretty fast. I hate how they have pallets like this for this. I wish they just did larger containers or something like that. Like, pallets would be fine if they were much heavier and not so tipsy, but... Because, like, that's the main annoying part, I guess. Wish there was just a station that you could set up, and then you could just drive the truck underneath it and get seed from that. It saves so much time. I don't mind doing all the pallet work, but it just takes forever if it's just one person, especially with how much we're doing. Will you stop doing that, you dumb thing? Okay, or not, because you're just gonna be a pain in my butt. Let's see if this one falls off.
Yep. Oh, oh, wee, oh.
Pretty much. Oh, wow. There we go. Mm-hmm.
Aren't you special?
Me? I don't know. I like to think so. Ain't that right, right?
That FS was a massacre tonight, man.
Yeah? But hey, at least I'm not getting one-shotted by artillery piece. I don't think the other one's gonna reach. Nope. You still think I have a mental disability, Riker, for farming in real life and then playing FS when I come home?
Well, you know, patient, heal thyself.
Don't have to worry about getting penned by artillery, not getting steamrolled. Don't have to worry about shots missing when they shouldn't, penning when they should. Only thing I gotta worry about is Gavin flipping semis. Oh man. The heck? That was weird. Truck is getting loaded. You haven't won the lottery yet, huh, Riker?
No. Question is, would I tell you if I had?
Probably not. Well, actually, I think the only sign that you would is that you'd either completely disappear off the face of the earth, or you would tell me, "D, move here. I'm buying a farm."
I'm leaning towards the latter really hard. I'll start you out at about 40 a year.
40,000.
With a 10% percentage of profits. Probably maybe 20% of profits. You're going to be having that much responsibility while I'm busy doing other things. I don't believe. I believe in he who does the work gets to enjoy it. You know, unlike these billionaires who believe like, yeah, I'm going to take everything. I'll take even more. And, oh yeah, and it's even more because I got money and you don't. You know.
Hmm.
Haven't worked around where there would be a. As a matter of fact, I've already done some research into it about Mississippi law and taxation with property and that property taxes and farming them. How would you feel about being a strict cattle only operation?
Only cattle? I don't know. As long as I don't have to milk like 100 cows, then.
Oh, we're not doing milk. No, I'm not doing that.
They say dairy's a pain.
No, yeah. It's not a dairy operation.
It's full. Yeah, pretty much is.
I was looking at how the taxes would work. The lay of the land would have to be in Mississippi, 160 acres. We would, and it would be something I would have you set up. It would be 160 acres. See, because we have the disability qualification, the house and 160 acres can't have any farm use equipment on it. No sheds, no stuff like that In other words, no, Heavy. No. I'm cats are triggering me right now, baby. No.
Anyway, you were saying.
Saying was just that according to Mississippi law, Mississippi has a very steep agriculture farm use taxation. The the values and the deductions for agriculture is ginormous in this state.
Hmm.
But 160 acres would be like 160 acres would be dedicated straight out for like hay production. So that way I had the the house and the land with the 160 acres would have to be set aside or refenced out for just, or I would have it just completely refenced out, and that's hay production right there. You know what I mean?
Just hay.
That way, when they come out there, uh, hay or whatever is rotating. See, I don't know enough about it. I just know hay. Okay, but if I have it set aside and there's no farm buildings or anything else like that on it, as long as you don't have farm use for the rest of the farm, Mississippi's kind of like they get asinine with that disability slash taxation in that. You get up to 160 acres on disability that falls into it's like a $12,000 write-off or something like that.
That's pretty good.
On the disability side for the wife. So the house next, so let's say there was $5,000 a year, then it takes our amount of percentage, which would be about $1,200 off on the taxes of the land. That includes the house. Okay. And say like I would be looking at like if I said, okay, well, we're going to put your place, get one of those Amazon houses,
Yeah. Those are pretty cool.
Yeah, and I mean it's brand new. Roll it out, pop it out, have the foundation, power, sewage, have water, and there you go.
Yep.
But that has to be outside of the 160 on the rest of the farm. If you had 1,000 acres outside of that 160, then you can set up anywhere for that to be in a different tax bracket with big deductions on it, because it is big depreciation deductions because of it being part of the, if it's considered to be farm use, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
My goal would be to start the farm with a setup like that, and then eventually, after profits and that are made, then look at finding some property somewhere in the area where you could have like 1 or 5 acres or something like that. That would be your place. You know what I mean? Or depending on the lay of the land, then eventually say, well, this corner over here, 5 acres right here, 2 acres, whatever, right here, I'm giving to you and title deed it off to you. And then you can build a house or whatever on it. Essentially give you full control of the farm, all of it, record keeping, all of that stuff will be your responsibility for taxes,
Yeah.
decisions or whatever, to sit down and talk with me about. We talk about the direction, and I don't want to babysit you. You know what I mean? I don't feel like micromanagement. I don't like micromanagement. I don't feel like I need to do that to another adult.
Yeah, that's fair.
like the pay may seem like it's low, but this one property that I looked at was like X number amount of acres, and it was like the crop that was on there that was going to bring in, like the one crop would bring in $35,000 a year, you know, in revenue. And see if I, like I said, I'm looking at what would be the payment structure for some net stuff. Like, okay, you're getting paid, you got some net profit on this, you know, Christmas bonus. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so if it kind of depends on the area too that you choose, like, and it depends who's selling land. You know, that plays a huge factor into it. If we do grain, the minimum that my uncle recommended would be at least 700 acres to work off of. He says one person can make a living off of 700,000. I'm sorry, off of 700 acres. And if we budgeted it, we could do it successfully for like, maybe for all the equipment and stuff, maybe 400,000 or so. And then if we're just strictly selling bales, we would probably do mostly either round bales or large square bales, most likely. Again, it depends on the area. If there's a lot of smaller farms around that like that kind of stuff, then you could do small square bales, which I don't mind doing.
Yeah, I'm not doing square bales, period.
You mean little ones?
That is,
or
big
ones
no,
too?
We're not doing squares at all. I'm doing straight round. The loss off of round bales is so much less than dealing with square bales, not to mention it's just easier to transport in that, and everybody around here that you see in that is using round bales, and they're a lot easier to make, you know, and in
I
my
would
opinion, a lot
say
easier to transport. And hell, you put them out in the field and drape them over, drape over tarps over them, and go on about your business, you know.
From experience from doing both, round bales are the hardest to bale because you have to, it's all manual, so you have to drive on the left for a little bit, then you have to drive on the right side to fill the baler up, and that can be pretty difficult. So as far as actually baling them, round bales are the hardest to bale, because where with a square baler, you can just align it up to where it goes in, and that's it. The square baler does the rest because of the way that it functions. And a lot of round bales, at least especially that we work with, when you're trying to unload them, like if you're trying to put them into a feeder and stuff like that, when you cut the twine or if you cut the net wrap off, it goes everywhere. There can be a lot of waste with round bales. I mean, it depends on the bale, and it depends how tight you make it. It depends how heavy they are, how wet they are, what type of bale they are. So, I mean, that does matter, but at least from what I've experienced, round bales can be a lot more wasteful than a square bale would be, typically. But I've never worked with large square bales, you know, the ones that are almost as big as a round bale, but, yeah.
I mean, I'm not 100% close mind in there. Because in the end, I'm not going to be the one dealing with it.
Yeah.
I'm the money, expect results, and that's it.
Yep. And there is some things that, there are absolutely some things that are out of my control. Like if there's a drought and I try everything possible to revive the crop, you risk it as either if you spend a lot of money trying to revive it with, let's say, you put spray on it, you put chemical on it. Maybe you try replanting it a couple times. I mean, that's immediate. Those alone are immediate loss.
I'm gravitating towards this. Okay, when I was reading my Bible a few days ago, there was this section in it, and it was dealing with the aspect of dealing with the aspect of cattle and that,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel a heavy gravitation towards going that way.
To
Um,
cattle. Mm.
yeah, but what I'm thinking is based off of what you're talking about. Like I said, if the 160 is set aside and it's nothing but, I want to just use it for the hay production. You know what I mean? Hay
Yeah,
production for our side, hay production
that's
for
a
our
lot.
side. Yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
a lot, and then sell whatever's the rest. Is fine with me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that's what I want to do. I want to do the 100. Then I want to do whatever the 40 or 100 acres or whatever like that, strictly for um the cattle. For cattle. And then if there's more land than that, then looking into aspect of crops as well. Um, Potatoes or I know you probably like what, Riker, but I know a lady over in Louisiana when I was working at my first hospital, and her husband and them, they had 500 acres of potatoes, and it has a yield return, ROI, the same as like 1,500 acres of corn. The only problem is, she told me, is that Congress backs up the money truck whenever there's drought conditions or whatever. That if you have, cotton, wheat, corn, stuff like that, that obtaining, you don't have a problem obtaining disaster assistance. But for
Mm-hmm.
potatoes, they don't offer any disaster assistance.
Higher risk, high reward kind of thing.
Yeah. And
Okay.
so it's kind of like, if we take 500 acres and put it to potatoes, and we've got the cattle on the other side, the only person who's responsible for blessing it is the Lord. You know, that's where I'm at. You know what I mean? I'm not doing this of my own volition. Um, and I would be gravitated for, hey, if we do potatoes and we've got the chance of, making an ROI that's double, even 50% higher than just a standard, 1,000 acres for this, I'm game for that instead, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
because and that's a weird thing too is trying to find the balance between all that. That is a massive thing because um if I was to raise 160 acres of hay, then that's going to require, you know, either if we settle for cheaper equipment, um then we could get maybe multiple sets of cheaper equipment, and I would probably have to have someone help me with that alone. I could maybe do it all by myself if we just do hay, like 160 acres of hay, because
oh
the
no,
way that
I'm already keyed into the fact that there would be um one or two high school students, like FAA or something like that, and pay them
mm-hmm,
decent hour wages, and I'm not talking about minimum wage. Like to sit them down and say, you're going to be paid above this because we must depend on you for your labor here. And if you give us crap, we throw you out and you won't get a job reference. And if you want to be
yeah,
making, you know, uh, 250 a week, coming in to work or something like that, um, here in Mississippi and with the poultry companies have like an indigent farmer set up.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, Lacey and her first husband did that. Um, you work on the poultry farm, you do get a wage. It's very very nice, but the company is taking that out, or the farmer is taking that out because you're provided with a house to live in. So
Mm.
a real big thing, I guess, with the free ice candidates. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm mindful of the fact that probably more than likely, based on the operation, that it would be, yourself, and we'd have to have somebody else. Um,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because like if we just did 160 acres of alfalfa, if you wanted to raise hay and sell hay, that I mean that's perfect for me, because the thing is um like in real life, for example, we cut hay 4 times in a summer. So every exactly every 4 weeks we cut the same fields pretty much. And then we have to after it's swathed, then we have to let it dry out. A lot of big dairy farmers, they don't really worry about that too often. They'll bale it once it gets to a certain percentage, but the problem is if it's a wet environment, especially if it's too wet, then what'll happen is mold and stuff will form, and it'll just make that rotten. It will make cows very sick if you sell it and give it to cows. Another thing that would be kind of risky is that, like, just for the haying alone, I don't know how much it is per acre up there if you were going to buy it, or if you were just planning to rent it, but like if it's around here, what it would be over there, so it's about $3,000 an acre, I think, is what it would cost to buy. And then so you're looking at about just over between a quarter and $500,000 alone just to buy the land. And then you have to buy would definitely buy at least a swather, and you could get a top dog one if you wanted. Like, I think the biggest Massey Ferguson one that they have in real life, I think my uncle told me it cost $300,000. And then you would need a tractor with a loader to handle the round bales. You need to get some kind of trailer to haul the round bales with. You need to get a baler.
yeah, we're looking at. Yeah, I would be under a different LLC with a government loan, backed up with some of the money. But because I would want to, if the operation fails, it fails with the operation, and that way it protects me from being, catastrophically castrated.
Right.
Is how that game would be. Which would be either an SBA loan, something of that tune. For the farming operation, if the land is paid for outright, the rest of the operation, so far as, because I mean, it just like, in the conjecture of, hey, is this or whatever, the main fantasy word is Powerball.
Yeah, if you win that, then yeah, you won't have to worry about losing money.
But the thing is, it would be under a strict LLC, for legal liability purposes. Like, somebody gets injured, they can't, walk up the money truck and they sue me for $100 million and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah. Under LLC rules, and because the money that I would have would be locked up in trust, and that, which means it can't be sued against. But so far as the farming operation or whatever like that, I would be just like operated as a business, understanding that there could be, some there's always investment startup costs. I'm very well aware of this. However,
Hmm.
if a $2 bill turns around to be a Powerball payment, things become to be pretty easy. Like, um, Dylan, let's
Okay.
not go. We go with Massey Ferguson. I'm pretty set on Massey Ferguson everything,
Hmm.
unless you otherwise specify. And
Right,
then
because
we get the
I
equipment. Now, the
it
160, the 160. Let me put it to you this way: the 160 includes the house and the land with the house, and to make it as a one designated 160 kind of thing. Okay,
hmm
but if I use it without buildings on it, or if there was buildings and the buildings were removed, that's depreciation expense. Okay, that gets taxed off.
written off.
If
Yep.
Yeah, as if we move them in that's a depreciation write-off issue. Um, and then we move them, and then like I said, to set up your facilities and that, there's going to be an investment startup because you move there and there's not a secondary house or whatever, which a secondary house is from another. Um, with another place, like I said, an nice Amazon house trucked in and already with a slab and stuff set up. You're looking at a mean cost of anywhere from 50 to 100 grand right there. You
Hmm.
know, and because you got to have water, you got to have sewer. Water could be about $5,000 to drill a deep water well. To provide water
I think that's
access
what it.
there for your.
I think that's what it was. My uncle's just dug a well in a pasture not long ago. Yeah, I think it was around 5,000. I think
Mhm.
5 to 10.
So the aspect of since you have a place, that I want you to have a nice, very nice insulated home, but it has to be on the corporate property in order for it to be, because it's part of the corporate structure. You decide, Jack, I don't want to do this no more, and you have to leave. My next person's got to have a place to live. Um,
Yeah.
and the barns, let's say the barns or whatever, if they are not suited, dilapidated, um, or we need to build structures specifically for, we're going to have X amount of hay that's going to have to be put under a shed, stuff like that, then
Hmm.
I'll have it built. You know what I mean? And that
You'll
structure
probably.
gets.
Yeah. You don't technically have to. Like, we could. We've tried some tarps. Tarps are just kind of. It depends on the weather. Like, if you get heavy snow and you get really heavy winds and stuff like that, tarps are just useless. Like, it's specifically here in Kansas they are. I don't know about Mississippi, but
No, trust me, the weather is a lot milder. A lot milder. But my
okay,
thing
we
would
should be
be
fine
my
then.
my thing would be to build. Um,
Hmm.
I just, if you're going into hay, my grandfather always stored his hay in the upper part of the barn, in the upper barn area. Um,
Hmm.
I believe that should hay is going to be for feed when you need it, and you don't want it to be molded up and everything. And so what do? You do an investment cost to build the building, and then it's depreciated over 30 years. Or you could do it once up front with it. But still, you're getting recovery on your amount because of depreciation of farm use. Okay.
Yeah.
And your equipment, your investment of your equipment and all that, or equipment that is purchased with, because hey, I've seen some decent equipment that was available, that come with the purchase of a place,
Hmm.
extra tractor gear or whatever like that. Who cares? You could say, Jack, since we got this tractor, it'll take this for making square bales and stuff like that. And I'm like, you want to make the argument for square bales, and transport is easy, because I want to make sure that a lot of things are hydraulic, push levers, and you don't get hurt. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And I'm
Hard
not
work
worried
is
about
boom.
you know, for me personally, I'm not worried about especially if we have help, I'm not worried about getting hurt. But I mean, I've been hurt out here already. You know, it's only been a year, so it should be expected, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, you're also going to have the avenue too with Phoenix that you'll have the avenue like, um, I expect for the work to be done by 5, 6 o'clock at night. I'm real intolerant of going any later than that for any reason. Because you need to have downtime. You need to be able to shut down. This isn't a slave driver operation where you're going to go out there and work and make nothing. Um, it's and it does me no good for you to wind up in the hospital because you're so tired. Everything else like that, it's not going to happen. Um,
Mm-hmm.
because once again, if you have the application of the funds, my thing is get up. We got to get up and get running, and I can't afford to go piecemeal. And I'm not, and I've told the Lord we can't go piecemeal. If this is what He wants, there's going to be provision, and it isn't going to be some threadbare authorization with Hyundai, Hyundai equipment with Hunt motors that are going to be blowing up everywhere. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
can't make profit, and you can't work. You can't get the work done.
Mm-hmm.
So
And I'd say like it's kind of often like it is here. I mean, if there's, for example, a high chance that we're gonna get like, for whatever reason, we're gonna get like 8 inches of rain the next day, and I'm close to finishing baling, for example, I'm gonna stay up, till like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever, and get those bales made. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah, I may even if I'm not in the middle of doing something or whatever, I may be right out there with you. You know what I mean? And may have
yeah,
another worker, or if it's an adult worker instead of a kid,
yep,
because the attraction of a house plus a paycheck is a lot better than sleeping on the street. You know what I mean?
yep.
A nice double wide or something like that to the worker. You're going to be like, okay, you're going to have this place. You're going to keep it up. You're going to keep it clean. D is going to be responsible for coming to inspect it. And he's not going to tell you 2 or 3 times. You're a grown adult and you tell you, oh, fucking damn. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm going to mute you. My female just stuck me in the leg.
Ouch.
No.
Okay, let's see. Where did the other semi go? Oh yeah, I put it over here. A little bit further off than I anticipated. Guess it's close. If I back up a little, should be able to make that. Nope. There we go. Try to get this 3 out of here. Trailer's drifting. We got 2 of them out.
I don't know, with hey, does all the land need to be for raising a cattle? And I'm like, no, it's not gonna be.
Yeah.
We may not have the 160. We may decide, based on the acreage of land, may say, well, we move it out and do 200 acres to make into, for making hay production. You know,
Mhm.
um, it's like I said, remember that magical word, Powerball. What would you do with Powerball? What would you do with Powerball? Um, I'm thinking blonde and pillows and an eternal visiting flames for cheating. The dreams start to wander, and then the flames start getting in there a lot closer than what you was when you was 18. Nah, I don't think so.
Mhm.
I was telling the guy today, yeah, I don't have an objective place to go burn in hell forever. He laughed. Um,
Yeah, I
so
would probably say
so
like I'd
off the
probably
one seat,
say
let's say off the 200. Let's say off the 200 would be the shed where the fence is, and you'd go through, and then there would be a massive drive under shed, pole barn kind of thing, just to drive
mm,
under, maybe for equipment or the hay equipment specific to that. You know, Dylan, you're talking to a man, okay, who understands mechanics. Okay, like there will be a bay that's dedicated for you to drive equipment up into, with a hot washer, with a washer, to power wash and keep the equipment clean and that.
mhm.
Um, with a bay with the tools and that you have to have, tool sets and everything, where there would be the availability of tools, welding machine, TIG rig, stuff like that. This broke, okay, you
Mhm.
know, um, fast transport vehicle to go across the field if necessary to fix something. Of course you're gonna have 4x4. You're gonna have to have a 4x4. You will have a truck. You will have a pickup that will be the farm truck that will be that will be for your personal use.
Mhm.
you know, um, so you don't have to, for all farm business, it'll be, like a F-150 4x4, something like that for you to
Mhm.
have that will be company paid, that, that'll be depreciated out to the farm, which is a 5 year, I think it's a 5 year depreciation on farm use for
Mm.
that, so, you'll like that, I certainly won't say if you want to put some boom in it, that's fine with me. You know, um, there'll be, I will want to do gasoline and diesel as a bulk purchase for the tanks to be on the farm under lock and key and camera. You know, um, no such like that. Um,
Mhm.
see what else would be. And like I said, living, continue, living spaces, um, payroll, such
Mhm.
like that. Make an establishment with the local high school, with the local FFA. Um, to just sit down and just tell the boys straight up. The guy that I work for with the farm, he has money. He's going to pay you decent because we want workers. We don't want you coming around there. If you're going to be sticking your phone out as your girlfriend and stuff like that, I'll just walk up to you and fire you straight to your face. And send a report to you. I sit down and email a report to your instructor, to your DECA instructor, that states that you were terminated because you didn't take the job seriously and you was on your phone and you was terminated on the spot. And and then your 10, 12, $50 an hour job just went out the door. Good luck finding a minimum wage job somewhere. You know? And you'll be surprised at how many kids will be there. Why? Because, like I said, there is this wonderful thing called depreciation and expenses and tax write-offs that with labor use and stuff like that. You know? It's
Yep.
wonderful. And that's what accountants are for. So that's why I'll need you set up with a computer at a desk that's going to be directly there for you to manage. You know your receipts, like for your gasoline, will all be on the company. Company paid card. Company paid card, so that comes in as part. So that's all. All to be put in. And I expect when something breaks, I expect for it to be fixed or replaced.
I definitely, unless if I go to ag school before then, I can't promise I'll be able to fix everything. There's definitely certain things I can do, like, pick up tire, easy peasy. Need a new headlight or something like that, easy. Need to throw in a monitor in a tractor or whatever, it might take me a little bit, but I'll be able to figure it out. It kind of depends on the dealer as well. Like in real life, it's gotten really big where people are brand loyal based on their dealer, of what their dealer has. I would prefer not to do John Deere because of their software crap.
No, there will be zero John Deere anything on the property. It'll be probably just nothing but Massey Ferguson, unless you say, if we're going to be doing this, we need this equipment here because it's the best, like that.
Most important question, you're going to buy a Gleaner combine, right?
I don't know. That fully depends. That fully depends on what the crop is and what the usage is. Like I said, the cost. I'm like I'll cover costs, but I'm not stupid.
Right.
You know what I mean? If something can be, hold on, I want to ask my wife something. I kind of want to stay one brand specific, and I have a reason for that.
Gleaner is AGCO. So AGCO owns Massey Ferguson, they own Gleaner, they own Challenger, they own White, they own Fendt. All the same company.
Cool.
Same
Didn't
thing.
know that.
Same thing with C&H Industrial. So C&H Industrial both owns Case IH and New Holland. So
love New Holland. Love New Holland. Grew up around New Holland. Ford.
Yeah.
As a kid, but that was, of course, was in the 70s.
New Holland's still pretty decent today. They make a.
I'm like this. When you have, let's say, I want a shop. Like, I want a shop to where you open the door up and you can bring the equipment inside. Okay? And that the place is solar. So in the wintertime, there's heat in there. And you're not trying to work through, 30, 40, 50 degree. That we got solar heat and water, that's heating the space up. When you understand the depth of what I'm going to be doing, you'll understand why. Because when it's like, maintenance on the vehicles is absolutely necessary. Okay.
Oh yeah.
I don't believe in skimping on. It's time to grease things. It's time to change the oil. You know what I
Oh yeah,
mean?
100%.
It's time to remove fan blades. I mean, fan belts and stuff like that, or whatever like that, or fuel filters that need to be done. And you need an environment where you can drive the vehicle up in there. You can close the door down. The temperature is not, this side of hell and this side of, igloos. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You want to be working in comfort so you can get around there and get the work done.
Mm-hmm.
Equipment sitting in the cold, I don't give a shit about that. But when you're busy working and in your shop area and you've got, okay, we got to work on this piece of equipment in here, and you go out there and you roll it up into, we're fixing to do an in-depth, so we're going to clean this thing. And there's 2 ones for both people. Maybe there's 2 people or whatever like that, and you get at it. And I mean, you clean everything, engine bay, everything completely out, vacuum, okay, we got it ready, we got it good to go. And then you drive it up in there because then you drive it around so you can start working on what you got to work on. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And you do your oil changes and stuff like that. Your oil changes, your maintenance, your greasing and stuff like that. And you sign off that all this maintenance has been done to the vehicle. Because I will know it if I walk up to it. I can know if it's been taken care of or not.
Mm-hmm. I will say, if we ever get a drill and we plant small grain crops like wheat or whatever, I either will at least have help, because I will not change out. I mean, it'll be years, but down the road, after the drill blades have been wore out and stuff, I will not change that by myself. I will not do that by myself. Period.
What is it now?
So, like, we have a crust buster drill in real life, and this earlier spring, or like midsummer, it was like a month or 2 ago, we changed the blades on our drill, the closing blades, and it is a absolute nightmare. We got them all changed. We had 30 rows that we did, so a total of 60 blades. And if you look up a video of how to swap them on Crustbuster drills specifically, look up a video of how to swap them. It is a nightmare. Absolute nightmare.
Well, I'm just asking, what is the I've never heard of this. What is the purpose of it?
You don't know what a drill is? So a drill, it's basically they plant in like 10-inch spacing, really narrow spacing. They plant small crops, like, so you can use it to plant cover crop seed, you use it to plant wheat, you use it to plant, where if you want to plant corn or something like that, then you would use a planter. And planters can be just as much of a nightmare to work on, so.
Dylan, let me tell you something. Over in the Delta over here, they use D9s. You know what a D9 is?
A D9? I have no idea what that is.
A D9. That is a caterpillar. That is a dozer. They do what's called deep. They're running rods down in the ground, and they are pulling them with the D9. And they plant deep. Not with all the row busting and everything else like that they do out there in the Delta. It's crazy to watch. They're using freaking D9s. Okay, because you got to have that kind of insane horsepower to pull to do what they do. Okay.
Are they tilling ground or something, or?
Yeah, in tilling ground and planting in that. They don't waste time with other parts in that. They found out that it's more efficient to just use the caterpillars to pull it. It's something I'm not 100% versed in, but it's extreme.
I would definitely look into about that, but
But my thing is that I have zero, I mean this, I have zero interest in small crops. None.
So you
I
wouldn't want to do
don't
wheat.
want
You
to.
would,
I don't want to do wheat. I don't want to do anything of that nature whatsoever. I'm not interested in that because my interest is my focus is the cattle, the land for the cattle. Um, maybe with the hay area for making our own hay plus any overage or whatever like that to be sold off and percentage of profits and stuff like that goes into your your personal profit calculation as far as I'm concerned. And then the other acreage or whatever would be for something that's a primary mainline crop. Like I said, I'm really gravitating towards potatoes um,
would you do
because of
corn?
that. And corn is a real possibility as well.
Okay.
And maybe the rotation of potatoes and corn or nodulated crops or something like that with the 1 year that there would be the 1 year that that field would have to rest. Because if you don't follow that biblical principle, you're screwed. Last thing I
Oh,
want is
summer
God
fall.
be-
Yeah. Yep.
yeah.
We do summer fall.
Um, planting something with high nodules in the land for nitrogen and for the soil of the land. And in that year, of course, if you're an employee of said farm, you've got the cattle in that, and you'll be compensated just in a normal bias of maybe in a running average of the last 3 years before the field went out would be your profits percentage from the last 3 years would be used to go ahead and add from me off the farm as if it was still being growing for crops for us to have a yield return. And who knows, there may be more than enough land for timber rotation, for timber production, which is a big thing over here. Huge thing. And like I said, that Magical World Powerball, it may be you have the farm over there, and then I buy another place, maybe 10 or 20 miles or whatever like that, that I'm going strictly after timber production. And that would be something you drive to maybe once every 6 months or something like that, whatever like that, or a management with the timber company or something like that. But remember, company truck makes airplanes. There's not going to be any livestock outside of cattle. I don't want to do pigs or anything, or we maybe Lacey would probably want chickens like that.
I would say you're fine if I have like 3 or 4 chickens for my personal use.
Oh yeah, I plan to do chickens around because I'm a chicken guy anyway. I want chickens around. Probably be making an area specific for chickens. Area for chickens or whatever like that. And I definitely want to do some acreage under for I want to do acreage for literal like purple hull peas garden. A garden. I definitely will have something like that, like an implement to till up the ground and do where it's just and see if I remember that magical word called Powerball would be to how many acres could I put over here that would be strictly for me to do purple hull peas, replace with grow area for squash, stuff like that, a garden space, and you could add what you wanted to in that area, and we get the fertilizer or whatever for garden space in that, I don't have a dream. I have a plan.
Yep.
Power Rangers, I guess.
if I had the money and I was to do it myself, I would probably either move to an area where there's not a lot of land that's being used but can be. I would buy up that land and see what it is. It kind of depends on what it is, but like, what did my uncle say? I think my uncle said for every cow that you want to raise in a pasture, if you don't feed it directly with bales, for example, the average cow, I think they need at least, what is it? I want to say it's 6 or 7 acres per cow. That could be way more or way less. I don't remember. It's been so long. But so you'd have to figure that out if you want to do stock cows. You'd have to figure that out. You know. Otherwise, yeah, you could just feed them with bales if you'd rather have like 30 cows on 10 acres. You could make that work. You just have to feed them and make sure they have water and raise the calves. And that's a big thing too, is depending on how the market looks, I would probably say, depending on how much you make, I would try to keep most of the calves, at least to start with, because then you could raise up your own. So like if you start with, 100 cows, for example, you raise them the next couple years or whatever, and then you would have, your own cows for a while. You wouldn't have to worry about buying any. And if the prices gets really good to sell the cows, then you could sell maybe 50% of the calves and stuff, and it all kind of depends on the market how that works, but
I don't want somebody looking at me, kind of sort of, oh, you just dreaming and all this and stuff like this. Because I don't care. You know what I mean? My goal is that the land will be there. The land will be there that used to be there, and that, or it's not meant to be in the first place. Okay, but I have a highly suspicion that it will be there. And if it works around with you, like I said, I want a definitive, like the fields need to be where, during the summertime, that's a difference. That's a horse of a different color because it's summertime, but especially during the winter months, whatever like that, I want it to be, cattle slash, want it to be to where there's acreage that's grown for not only that's grown for production, for farm production, ROI kind of deal, return on investment, and that just kind of depends. I mean, that kind of depends on what we get at and what we look at. I feel like the leaning for the cattle, and I don't want to explain it online, but that's where I'm really gravitating at. And I have a very specific reason to tell. And I have a very specific reason to say. And also, too, would be like at nighttime for you to be able to do online schooling or whatever like that. For you to be able to come home, make your dinner, be able to do your online classes and stuff like that, and pursue an associate degree, such like that. I'm a big help in that kind of crap, and if the Lord is there and the returns are there, then the pay will go up tremendously. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Abject poverty kind of crap.
Yep.
Oh,
But yeah, what I would do is
because I've got a reason.
Yeah, I think what I would do is, like, if it was to happen anytime soon, I would go to college like I'm planning to, get my associates in ag mechanics, because that's gonna, be beyond useful when it comes to that. Especially if we work on our own stuff all the time, which I don't mind doing. But like when you're raising calves, we don't have to raise them or all of them. If you want to sell a majority of them, that's fine with me. I don't care. But the more calves we keep, it adds a lot. Or regardless, calves are a lot of work. With stock cows, you tag them, you wean them, you have to keep them on mom for at least, what is it? I think it's 2 months or 3 months or something like that at a bare minimum. I gotta be able to tag them, tag cows. So, I would need a stock trailer, which I'm sure that you would say, yeah, is a must. Would have to have a catch pin, a mobile catch pin as well. Would have to have probably at least.
On the cattle side, you're gonna have to have your drive-through gate, to do your injections and stuff like that. We're gonna be looking at veterinary costs for a veterinarian to come,
I will say right now, vets for the most part are not worth it. It's something that you can, if you want to, that's between you, but you can talk to my uncle about it if you want. But by the time that you spend money on getting the animal healthy, and if it needs surgery or whatever like that, or if it needs shots, certain shots. Obviously the calves, we give shots and stuff like that. But if you have an adult dying, by the time that you spend the money on the medicine or whatever it is they need to do to it, you've exceeded the amount the cow is worth, and you almost immediately lose money off that, generally. And that's why my uncles don't do it very often. The most that they do with vets is like checking the calves, and that's about it. If you wanted to do a vet, what you could do is you could hire a farm vet, so that way, it's only on the farm itself. So they'd keep an eye on their health and stuff like that. They'd keep their shots up to date. They would, be there and help when the calf is born, stuff like that. So you could hire someone who is medically, who has a vet, who has like a vet certification or whatever, and you could have them help out on the farm with that if you wanted to. That's probably going to be the best way to do it. You get the most bang for your buck that way, in my opinion. If you wanted to. Yeah, because my uncle, or I haven't really tried yet, but my uncle, he learned how to preg check cows himself, and you know, even to this day, he still kind of has trouble with that. I would have to get I believe it's also I could get another associate's degree in that. But my older uncle, he lets my younger uncle preg check cows all the time because for the most part, my younger uncle is correct whenever he checks them. So, but for me, as far as that, unless I get experience out here doing that, then I would have to get, I would probably get a second associate's degree and do that. But because I know a lot of big, like, cattle people, they often hire a vet and have them get preg checked from the vet. That has, you know, that associate's degree for veterinarian for cows, but I'm not sure how good I would be at something like that. Would be, you know, I don't know how reliable my type of skills are in that kind of aspect. You know, I'd be willing to try, but I can't promise anything there. You would be managing the employees, or would you want me to do that? Or kind of a mix of both?
It's your responsibility.
Okay. Oh, and here's another thing too. For working with my uncles and from hearing just a lot of stories around, stuff is going to get broken by people. So someone accidentally runs over something and breaks a tire, or someone accidentally slips on a pedal when they're driving something and goes through a fence. You know, stuff like that is expected to happen. Just to let you know. So I wouldn't. Me personally, I probably wouldn't. I wouldn't fire anyone over that unless if it was like extremely intentional, like it was obvious. You know, like they ran through, you know, like 8 sets of fences or something like that. You know, then I probably would say, yeah. But as far as like that kind of stuff goes, I'd probably be fairly, I guess, just forgiving when it comes to that kind of stuff, because that's how I've been treated here when it comes to that. So I would want to return that to my own employees as well, and it's what God would want. So forgive and be forgiven.
I am a little bit different there.
Yep, that's probably one of my favorite verses is Luke 6:37, where it says, "Judge not, and you will not be judged. Condemn, and you will be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven."
Be a dumbass and be fired.
Yeah, we all make mistakes, so again, that's partly where I'm, like I said, if it's something where, like, for example, you know, like I said, they intentionally break something, you know, like I said, if they go through 7 flights of fence or something like that, or you know, or if they were to cuss me out or something like that, then I would give at least very minimum like like a 3-day or like a week or whatever unpaid time off, you know, a suspension, stuff like that. But and my thing is too is hire, at least what I want to do is hire more employees than we need. That way if someone is sick, if someone gets hurt, you know, we're we're body covered, you know what I mean? As long as, you know, you can afford it, I would say there's no reason not to be overemployed, but in my opinion. But yeah, like, I've had some very big screw ups, especially here on the farm. You obviously know of a few of them. There's certain things I won't say for at least right now, but like, it's they've been very forgiving. So, I mean, I have no reason not to return the favor if I have my own employees, you know? That's just the way that I am. It's a really big part about our faith, because if you can't forgive, then you're kind of missing the whole point of the gospel, in my opinion. It's actually a commandment, I think, besides, you know, the verse I just shared. Forgive others' trespasses, otherwise the Lord won't forgive yours. It's in Matthew.
Well, Dylan, I am going to be like this. I will overview situations. If there's equipment damage and I have the time, that I would overview the situation. And if I look at the situation and I say they're gone, they're gone. And I am more than capable enough of living with my decisions. And I have terminated people before in the past for less. And they refuse to come in on time, not destruction of property, insubordination. So, I have this philosophy that, you know, when I go to work, I'm there to work. I'm not there to, it's sort of like this, you know, work is work. Don't destroy the property. Don't, you know, do your job. You're going to be giving your breaks. You're going to be giving, and everything is within reason. However, I know the difference between in reason and you're screwing me. And I'm like this. If you're being paid and I've got to have something done, I expect it to be done. You want to get belligerent, you want to give attitude and stuff like that. I'm not paying for belligerency or attitude. You know what I mean? Eventually you run into somebody who's a problem child. And I can be very direct with problem children. Brutal direct. Hey man, you don't have to have your paycheck. You know what I mean? You continue with this abuse or whatever like that, or failure to do what's required from your supervisor, Dylan. Then I have no compunctions on putting you out on the street. And you have nobody to blame but yourself. Period.
Oh, like, don't get me wrong. I will hold them accountable for stuff, you know. Like, that's the biggest thing is I will not tolerate them swearing at me or stuff like that. It's just not, you know what I mean? Like, but if they're, because I've had my own, like, I've never had this until now, but, like, because I've had to deal with it myself, but, like, if they're 5 minutes late, whatever, you know, I don't care. if they're an hour late, you know, a couple times, whatever, you know, it happens. Stuff happens, you know, your alarm. I've had it to where my alarm hasn't gone off before. I've had it to where my ears are so stinking plugged from allergies that I can't hear crap. I've had that happen. You know, simple stuff like that. So I'm a little more lenient towards that as well because I've made those mistakes myself. So I'm not going to punish someone for the same mistake that I would make because that would just make me a hypocrite. You know what I mean? And there's something too where it's like, that's, and I will say that as well, specifically out here, like out here, our cell phone signal is terrible, and you know how that can be, and I have to deal with that all the time. Like, I can't call my uncles to say, hey, where do you want me to go? What do you want me to do? That happens quite often. So if I'm unable to get a hold of someone, of one of my employees, because they're either not there or, you know, something happened or I'm somewhere else where I don't have a signal, I'm not going to hold them accountable for that because that's not that's just, I mean, even though it may be their fault, it's, you know, that's just what happens. That's normal. You know what I mean? So stuff like that, you know, I'm gonna be pretty generous towards. You know, I'll kind of be I'll kind of treat my children the same way. You know, you do the best you can. You know, it's one thing if, you know, my employee is not wasting time and they're doing really great and they're not able to finish the last, you know, for example, let's say they're not able to, they can't stay awake for, you know, the last 100 acres or whatever like that. They're supposed to work. You know, I get it. I get really, really tired because of my eyesight. My eyes work 3 times harder than the average human, which I'm sure you've probably read about. You know, so stuff like that, I get it. Or your kid was up late because they were throwing up and you had to stay up with them, and maybe you're a little late, or maybe you just can't perform the same. I'm not gonna hold it over their heads, you know, because we're human. We can only do so much. Maybe that would make me a terrible boss. I don't know. That's personally the way I would be with my employees. That's how I would treat them. I would treat them the way that I would wish to be treated. That's where I'm at with it. So, like, I lost my chain of thought. What was I gonna say? What? What's so funny?
Oh, I'm sorry, Dylan. I had a I'm deleting text messages. So I found that in your old phone, your 912 number. There's a shit ton of photographs in that you sent me. Sitting here cleaning out my nope. Hey, look at this picture. I'm gonna send you this.
You're talking about Lacey, right?
Yeah, man. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. I was just making sure.
Hey, we've run across my wife's old That's a. Oh wow! Sent my wife a picture of. I wish you could see this, man. Oh man, I gotta send this picture to you. Hold on a second. I gotta send this one. Share messages. DY. There we go. Next. Check if I'm not broken. That's what every girl boy needs.
Oh man, you suck. You know that.
Sucks, dude.
Oh.
I know, man. You know how much that bill was right there? $20.
Oh, I wanted to- That's not bad.
That was back in. That was back. I wrote her and it's like, I just had the chowder, which was the corn chowder. I mean lobster chowder thing that they had there. I always get a cup of that, and then the bread and the ribeye, which is largest ribeye, French fries, and a potato. You know, man's got to have
Nice.
that potato group. You know what I mean? And they one sitting there, you know, man, that just sucks, don't it? I'm sitting here like, baby, come back to Papa.
Riker, would you shoot me if we did all 2,000 acres on this map potatoes? Because last time we only did 500, and this is 2,000.
Well, you be man enough to do what you want to do, and I'll be man enough not to be there. How's that sound?
I figured you'd give some kind of reaction to that.
I did. It was amazing. See, choked you up and everything. Dude, that steak. Oh man, that steak. Oh, that steak. What is it, baby? I seen from a picture I sent you from I don't know when. I just sent it to Dylan, and it was a picture I took at Longhorns. I had some place where I went, you know, out of town, and I sent you a picture, and I was like, I just had the Longhorns ribeye and all that. Oh, it was over in Atlanta. It's that June 18th or 21. So that was when oh yeah, Longhorns next to the hotel. I was weak, ROFL. I remember that. I went to Baton Rouge or something like that or something, and I had to do something there, and the next door to the hotel was I mean right next door to the hotel was the Longhorns. Needless to say, my will was weak,
Weak.
very weak, insanely weak.